This morning, my topic is the Tipi. Yes, we do build tipis, the wife and I. Yes, we do supply tipi poles. And yes, we do teach the setting up of the tipi. But this morning, my discussion is on the fireplace in that tipi. I was privileged to grow up with a traditional family background. My parents and my grandpa were Sundance Lodge keepers, Tipi, and also sweat lodge keepers. But I'm also a product of the residential school. I spent 13 years in residential school in Duck Lake and in Lebret, Catholic. And during the course of that time, I had met my wife sitting in a corner over there. I met my wife in the first residential school. And years later, after I graduated and took some trade training, we married. And being residential school survivors, we had one heck of a time getting going with our family. Because a Catholic residential school did not teach what I'm going to talk about. That's the home fireplace. How to look after the fireplace. What to do in the fireplace. Where to get your information about the fireplace. And how to get it. And how to grow up around that fireplace. And this is the traditional fireplace. This is the information that I needed when I married first year with my wife, and I didn't have it. The residential school I attended did not teach me how to become a daddy, a father. It did not teach me how to behave and how to think as a family man. That fireplace that is on the picture is a fireplace that did that many generations ago. It did exactly that. She was not taught, my wife was not taught how to be a mother. She was not taught how to have babies. She was not taught how to live with a man. And what are her roles as a woman in this new life. Not exactly a new life. We had it generations and generations, and that's how we survived. But somehow, the interference of another culture, and even another religion, the interference of that disrupted that fireplace. It disrupted it. We had a beautiful thing going in our little fireplace. I remember it was during that beautiful life that I was taken away to another culture, to another religion, to another language, another way. I remember that day, that time, when we were living in a little log cabin. There were quite a few of us in that little log cabin. But I remember there was no alcohol in that little log cabin. That we were all responsible in that little log cabin, all my siblings. And we had jobs in that little log cabin. One of the job that I clearly remember was I had a pillowcase. And I used that pillowcase with a little dipper. I would go out around the house, and I would scrape the powdery snow off the top, and at the bottom there a little ways, it crystallized, and that's the water making snow. And I would fill up my little pillowcase with that, and I would bring it in the house, and I would add it into the barrel that slowly melts that snow during the day. And I would also fill up the water cistern in the cook stove. I'd keep that full. That was my job at home, providing that water and the barrel full of providing those containers so that we would have water every day. That was my job. Without it, the family could not function. I didn't know that. But I was doing a very critical job. One day, I decided and I told my mom, well, Mom, I don't know, for a number of years now, I've been supplying snow to this house. How many winters? And in the summertime, I'd be hauling from a well way down, quite a ways from our home, with two little pails. I was the water delivery man. And I was about 5, 6, 7 years old. But I did a critical job. So, one day, I told my mom, Mom, here's the pillowcase. Yeah, I've decided to quit my job. I've done it. You know I've done it how many years now? I'm kind of tired of this job that I got, bringing in snow. So here's the pillowcase. And she, sit down. I want to tell you something. The kitchen, little kitchen, log house. Sit down, Sonny. I want to tell you something. She said this in Cree. The job that you do is a very important job. But if you want to quit, well, I guess I have to agree that you quit today. But here's the problem. You see that chair where you sit in every meal? You have a chair here. There's a space for you, and you eat every day. Well, these chairs are all designated for work performed. Now that the waterman quit, that chair is going to be empty at dinner time today. Wow, empty. Yeah, because the one that used to provide the service here for water has quit, and we cannot feed him. Holy smokes, Mom. You mean to tell me I can't eat? Yeah, the reason why you eat is you provide a service for this house. That was your job. Now the job is vacant. We don't have to feed that vacant spot anymore. And I said, Mom, give me that pillowcase. I wanted my job back. See, that was the kind of a fireplace that we were taught. we were taught that we all had a role in that home. We had a role to fulfill, and we all knew our duties around that fireplace. Today, my talk is on the fireplace. The fireplace is a special fire. It's been with our people for hundreds of generations. And that fire plays a very major role in the continuance of that fire in that little log house or in that teepee. If we look after that fireplace will continue to burn. It'll stay. I want to talk about how that fireplace is actually a keeper of our children and mom and dad, and even grandma and grandpa. The fireplace is sacred. It wasn't just a creation of something warm, something for light, something for blessing, something for gathering, something to cook with, something to make our special herbal medicines. It wasn't just for that. That fireplace was to grow our children around the center and the heart of the home. When I said we were disrupted, we had a fireplace and we had a good life and we had grandma and grandpa, mom and dad, and there was no interference like alcohol and violence. Oh, we had a wonderful life. Even when our parents decided to join a church, at that time, my time, it was the Catholic Church came to the reserve and started holding services in our reserve. Even with that kind of interference, although we were traditional people, my dad was a lodge keeper, a helper, an euskapios for older men, doing services and special ceremonies in our reserve. My dad was there and he took us along, young men and women. He took us along, but he also took us to church. And I'll tell you, it was a good experience because no alcohol was involved and we got taken to church, particularly midnight mass. We hitched up the horses. We put hay in the sleigh, and we put our blankets under the hay. And we were gone, sometimes 35, 45 below zero, cold, but we were warm under those blankets heading to midnight mass. 10 o'clock at night already. 11 o'clock, we had to be over there. And I want to say that it was an experience that I'll never forget. As we lay in the hay and my dad was driving the horses, my mom was sitting in a corner beside us with blankets and having a baby cuddled under the blankets, under the hay. with her head sticking out like this and baby's head sticking out sometimes. And we would look in the sky and see the stars as we went. It was about a 10-mile trip in a sleigh. Oh yeah, my dad was one of the few sleighs that had bells ringing on the horses. And we were going and we got to the little log church. There was 15 or 20 teams of horses. And everybody covered their horses that were sweating with blankets. And we put hay for the horses to eat while we were in church for midnight. And when we walked over to this little crowded church, I remember walking towards that church. People were singing inside, Silent Night. Wow, what an experience. The way they were singing, Silent Night, Holy Night. We walked in there and sat in there. And I remember we were sitting, I came with my friend, an Anglican, my friend. He came with us on this trip. And I was sitting there, and it was communion time. I'm already a communion guy. So I said, I'm going to go and get a little feed. I told him that. So I gave him my mitts and my toque. Here, hang on to this while I go for my little feed. I'm going to go for communion. So I went for communion. When I came back, he hands me his toque and his gloves, his mitts. Here, I'm going to go and eat a little bit too. And I know he wasn't a communion guy. He wasn't qualified. So anyway, off he went. So we were taught in that way. And then the residential school children got picked up. I was one of them. I was no longer a home fire child. But until that time, my grandpa, my grandma, and my mom and dad told us quite a bit about that fireplace. They showed us that that fireplace must be respected, that everyone has a role around that fireplace, that that fireplace is sacred. And around that fireplace, we had to smudge around that fireplace. And every meal that was served, a prayer has to be said. And around that fireplace, it wasn't just for now. That fireplace remembered we had a grandma and a grandpa, or a great-grandma and a great-grandpa. We had them. And my dad made it a point on special occasions to offer food for those old people that had gone by. And he made it so real. He made us understand that it was real, that we were inviting those old people to come and eat with us. He made it so, right now, he made it so, it's nothing impossible. When I invite them, they come, he says. And when we're sitting around having the dinner, yes, they are with us here today because I invited them. These are your great-grandmas and great-grandpas. and some of them your siblings that are gone. I invited them too, your brothers and your sisters that are gone. So that kind of teaching was happening. Around that fireplace, I was taught to be a team member in that lodge. A team member. That I had to learn in a very special way that my sisters were to be respected. And my brothers were to be helped in a special way. That there was no room for arguing around that fireplace. No room for it. If somebody around the fireplace needs extra help, let the family know you need extra help. Sometimes it's to go and get a whole sleigh full of wood in the middle of winter at 3 feet of snow. They need more help. So some of the girls came, and of course the boys. We all had to go to get that load of wood, that special need in our home. There was responsibilities around that fireplace on prayer. We had to know how to react to and how to go along with such solemn periods in that little fireplace when it was time for prayer. We had to know how to be calm. And we even had to learn how to pray in our language. We even had to know around the fireplace when we were very young how to be a helper around that fireplace. Not only the boys, the girls too had to learn how to be uskape usiuskwewak. There's the boys and the teaching, and there's the girls and their role around that fireplace. I remember those before I went to residential school. Then I remember how they taught us how to be helpful in that community gathering. Serving food, looking after the meal, blessing the meal, smudging the meal, and how to turn serving food, how to turn, which way to turn, and which way to feed, and even what to feed. If there was choke cherries, ground choke cherries, just give it to the elders. There's not enough of it to go around. If there's berries, make sure the grandmas get berries. They can share their berries with their little grandchildren. We were taught how to keep a clean mind while we were serving food as a gift offering to that graveyard or that memorial or that anniversary or that special memorial for a special person. We were taught how to do that around that fireplace. I know many of you had the same experience, and I'm not telling you anything new. But when we got disturbed, all that previous good training that we had around that fireplace stopped. It stopped. And there was a reason for that training that we received. There was a reason for it. It was to be a lifelong certificate or training that we got, a lifelong. That we're going to use it for life. The training that we got around that fireplace was supposed to prepare us to be a young Uskapeus that was equipped with learning from Grandma and Grandpa, to be a respected, respectful, kind person when we were now over teenagers, and we were qualified to leave that fireplace and start our own fireplace and have a fireplace, and we can run it successfully. Same with the women. The young women were taught how to be respectful ladies. They were even taught with instruction what to expect, because sometimes they are going to be blessed with babies. They were even instructed on how to relate to a man around that fireplace. We did not get that at residential school, but we got it there at that fireplace. My discussion today is we need this fireplace back in our community. In our community, we need to retrain or train one more time. We need to make it happen, that fireplace teaching come back to our people. Look at this, what is happening now. Because many of us were residential school kids and we didn't get that training. We need to retrieve that special training for our young men and our young women. Look at what we have. We have untrained Uskapeusak in our reserve and in the city. We have untrained Uskapeusiuskwewak in the city and in the reserve. We need to make a purpose. We need to make a process to bring back that Uskapeusiuskwewak, Uskapeusiunapewak, Uskapeusisak. We need to bring it back to our fireplace in our community. Somebody was asking me, how are we going to get back to who we are? And as community members, we need to start doing it. We need to start doing what our old people did. We need to get it back. And it's not impossible. It's not impossible to retrieve it, to call it back, because it was spiritually given. It was given to us by the spirit world. It was given to us by Wisakechak. He taught us how to do it. Somebody disturbed us and took it away. As well as Easily he was able to take it away 50, 70, 100 years ago. It's going to take us a little time to bring it back. But our children, our young men and our young women are worth it all to teach them how to be kin. It's not, I know it's going to be an overwhelming job because the damage was so severe on our community. It was severe. One of the things that we lost, our traditional prayer with our traditional language. Government hired religious people, and he created schools across the country. And he instructed those religious people who were willing to make money on this new system. And even the religious people thought they were doing an honorable job. What were they instructed to do? They were instructed to teach the Indian out of that Indian. Because that Indian is not going to survive in this world. So teach him. Get rid of his language. Get rid of his contact with his elders. And get rid of mom and dad who are speaking that language. And we can keep them in the schools for as long as it takes for them to lose their traditional ways, to lose their language, and to lose their fireplace. They can lose that fireplace. Take them away from there. And we're not going to have any such thing in these schools as fireplaces. But we will teach them how to pray. We will teach them that they are now, that traditionalism is a sin. That's what we'll teach them. Lighting the pipe and speaking that Cree language is also a sin and will take them nowhere else but hell. They have to follow our church. That's the only way they're going to make it to heaven. So when I came back from residential school 13 years later, yes, I had a hard time. And yes, I had doubts on my parents with their language, because that was nailed into me for several years. And yes, I did question my elders and their teaching of their prayer ways and their ceremonies. I questioned them. And I got married, and I was a messed up daddy. I didn't know what to believe anymore. But I got back home. The ceremonies were still on. And my dad, well, son, you better come. Because Mushum and I worked on you so that you can become an Uskapios. So I did go to the ceremony half-heartedly. Most of the other time, because I'm a mess, I'm drinking. I'm drinking now, and I'm working. I'm educated. But I'll tell you, while I'm drinking and educated, my wife had a terrible life with me. We had a tormented life, a messed up life, raising children at the same time, and trying to party, to try to make some semblance of a smiling, happy life. We were messed up. It took about 15 years in visiting elders. And these elders that we went to were sober elders. And we found them. And we enjoyed sweat lodges and ceremonies with them. We started to become sober. We started to become traditional praying parents. And we started to love that way. We enjoyed waking up on a Saturday morning, Sunday morning, sober and not hungover. And we started attending those ceremonies that gave us fireplace instructions. Gave us, we were already 25, 30 years old. But they started to teach us, what our role was. They started to hammer into us what relationship and how we can relate with each other, and what we can pass down to our children. The fireplace. The fireplace, generations and generations of healing, of relationship, kindness, forgiveness, mercy, sharing, love. That's what that fireplace taught. If you will go to a ceremony, you'll find that teaching is still there. Go to a ceremony. I've gone to every ceremony that I could possibly attend. I also have gone to every church, Anglican, Catholic, Methodist, camp meeting. I've gone to every one of them, and I found that they were all good. Whatever I went to pray for in that church, I received answers. Because I wasn't there to say hello to people. I was there to say to the Creator, Lord God, I need this today. And it happened. I have gone to sweat lodges. I have gone to pipe ceremonies. I've gone to pipe ceremonies here in this building. I came. Not as a pipe carrier, I am one, but I went there to give them a print and tobacco and a sweetgrass. I gave it to them. Me and the wife are here. And right now we're in a crisis. We need help. And I gave it to those elders, and they said, yes, we'll pray for you, AJ, and your wife. That's why I came and gave that tobacco when I sat with them. I've gone to those ceremonies, the Sundance Lodge ceremony, practically every year. But I've also gone to gatherings of churches, summer gatherings. Some of them, they call them a pilgrimage, We've taken our trailer and we went and camped at the pilgrimage. Because something was taught to me. There was a Jesus. And a book was brought into this island about a man that was born across the ocean. And that man was kind. That man understood. And that man was a healer. And he didn't have white skin. He had brown skin. One of the tribes of Israel, one of the tribes. A peasant girl was instructed by the Creator to bear a man, God child. That story came here in our island. That story came. And I embraced that story because I heard he was kind. I heard he was honest. I heard he was a holy and that he was a miracle worker. I heard. So in my knowledge of him, I embraced his teaching. I embraced it. In my ceremony, I talk about him sometimes. He's a good man. And I'm not going to be partisan talking against a man that millions of people around the world have said that he's a good man. I'm in my sweat lodge, and I'm crying for a special need. And I had my eyes closed in the sweat lodge. And I opened my eyes with my tears and crying. Go, guess who is sitting beside the main man? I seen a man. I knew right away it was Jesus sitting there, looking at me. Then I bowed my head and I cried some more. Then I opened my eyes again in the dark. I seen Jesus' mom sitting there, and she was smiling. So I want to say to you, yes, I want you to, if there's nothing else in your community, take your children to church. Take them in. They might learn something, they might hear something, and they might even adopt something that will help them. Give them a chance. Let's not just drop our kids. Let's be the people we're supposed to be. We are supposed to be kind. We're supposed to be moms. We're supposed to be dads. We can't say, oh, whatever happens, happens. Don't say that. Give your children a chance to get smudged. Give them a chance. Give them a chance to take them to an elder. Bring a tobacco with you and maybe a print and give that elder instruction to name your son. Name your son or your daughter. My name is Kehilgapimihat, Flying Eagle. Old people in the lodge, old men in the lodge gave me that name. Several years later, old women were sweating, and they gave me another name, Walking Bear. Maswagap Muftit. That's my name. They gave my wife, many years ago, an Indian name. They gave her a name, Blue Thunder Woman. Blue Thunder Woman. You know, when the thunder is lightning and it's blue, that's her name. It's that thunder spirit. She's named after her. So I wanted to say how critical that fireplace is. I can talk about the Tipi poles and the covering and no. But the most important thing is inside that Tipi there is life for our children. There is life for us. Mothers and fathers, grandmas and grandpas, there is life for us. And we can keep our family together. Tawa kutuyak. Tawa kutuyak means let's be related and know our relationship. Tagage sumuyak, to be praying people. Tapone tamageak, let's be forgiving people. Yeah, I forgave those people that hurt me when I went to residential school. I forgave them. I have no problems with them this morning. In fact, they'll come to my workshop and cry because they hurt themselves when they were instructed with money to hurt me. They hurt themselves and they cried. But on the other hand, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say what I learned, what I was taught, what I believe in is practically the norm across this audience today. We're normal. And we're going to try to have a life for our children. Although we are now at crossroads, many of us in our families. Gangs, crystal meth, other drugs, alcohol. Boy, they're sure giving us a real run over in our lives. I'm one of those guys in my reserve that I direct funerals. And most of the funerals that I'm directing is young people. Used to be the odd time an elder we used to go to a funeral for an elder. Now it's young people. So that's why I say we need that fireplace. We need the teaching of that fireplace. And if you wish that sometimes you need somebody to come and talk to young people on Uskapeus training, young women, get some of us old people to come and talk about that fireplace. Ego sepitaman inu teituan ina naskumuan tawawe ki ha anu tape mam skutaman ki kwe ki mi kusiak kwe ki wanai kauya ke me kwaks na mawasuya e ki wanai kauya e kwa nama taks no moa ko kitawasum sno e ki wanai kauya maga muitskwa kwangis ksna no kiam kao kakwe katsnetan kitawasum sno taka chipchigit min tap matschik min tawa kutuch min atsagi tuch. So with that, my friends and relatives, I was given the privilege of knowing and learning and seeking a sober life, a drug-free life. Me and that woman sitting over there, this June, we will be celebrating our 57th wedding anniversary. we are survivors. 57 years, and we want to say that we were able to keep our dozens of children and grandchildren on a sober road. On a sober road. If one or two of my daughters or my son was on a hard road, we were not afraid on the next family gathering to cry in front of them and tell them how we feel. And tell them that their alcohol or drug life doesn't feel good for us. And also doesn't feel good to see our grandchildren being raised by parents that are on drugs and alcohol. Doesn't feel good. So I want you to keep praying. Go to the next gathering. Go to the next ceremony. None of the ceremonies will tell you you can't come in here. I even know a ceremony that's very, very much talked about. It's called the peyote ceremony. The peyote ceremony is I have been a roadman for peyote for over 45 years. A lot of people were healed in that ceremony, and that came from Texas and Navajo country, that medicine. It's a special medicine. And I tell people, don't talk about it or criticize it. Come on in, you're welcome. And I'll tell you, you can talk to me after the ceremony. And they did. Some of them did 30 years ago, and they're still in it 30 years later. Same with sweat lodges. I humbly go into a sweat lodge. I'm nobody. I'm a lodge keeper. But I will tell people, tell the Creator, Lord God, what is wrong with your life. And you'll get straightened out. Or go to that church, Anglican church, Catholic church. Seriously talk to the Lord God what your needs are. And go to communion. Believe in what you're doing. And you will find that there is blessings in your life. You will find it. Fireplace, teaching, help, and it's all gift from the sacred beings. What we were gifted with is nothing new. The Bible and what it says and what our old people were given, the same thing, what they were given. So we have a way of life, a teaching. Seek it and bring the elders in that'll talk about it and teach your children, or you can teach them. I'm thankful that I was here. I'm going to end with a song this morning because I too am going day to day, week to week. I don't know what to expect tomorrow. Me too. I don't know what to hear tomorrow. I don't know. But I'll depend on the spirit world, the sun that gives us heat and light and medicine rays. The thunderbird that gives us water, life-giving water. The wind spirit that gives us oxygen to live every day. And the northern spirit that gives us food and lodging and clothing. That's the spirit world that the Creator, Lord God, created this earth with. And Mother Earth, and of course, Grandmother, the moon that shines at night. I believe in that. I believe that all those spirits work together to grow that grass so that moose can eat and I can eat the moose. If one of them was missing, that grass wouldn't grow. Wouldn't. Heat, water, oxygen, sun, food. One of them is missing, we're having problems. Am I off? Mic test one. Don't go away. You might want to take this song.
Testing.
And it's yours. This song was given to me by an old man. He came to our reservation. He was adopted dad to my dad. No, adopted brother to my dad. So he became my dad when my dad died. And then when my dad died, he came to visit us. He says, "Sons, I'm really reluctant to tell you the truth, but I was told maybe I have a week left to live. So I decided I wanted to come here to attend your lodge, your sweat lodge for one round, but I want to give you a song. I want to give you a song, and I want you to use that song and help people with this song. It was given to me in a spiritual way a month ago, and I want to give it to you, my sons and my daughters. It's called Wake Up. Waniska no se, waniska no se, nanasko matan ko tawinao, waniska no se, we I away ne. We I higher, we oh hey hey, we I higher, we oh hey hey, oh hey hey, we I hey oh hey 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 hey. Wake up, my grandson. Wake up, my granddaughter. Look at what's going on all around you. Wake up. Wake up and start praying. Wake up. Wake up and start visiting of your family members that you don't visit or you don't call. Wake up. They're missing you. Wake up and start forgiving people that hurt you. Wake up. It's worth calling them and talking to them about that forgiveness that you feel. Wake up. One ska, no se, one ska. That song, he gave it to us. Wherever you go, pass it on. Wake up. One ska. Wake up. we want to feel good. Wake up. Wake up. We want to be a good daddy. We want to be a good mom. We want to be a good brother, a good sister. We want to be a good son, a good daughter. That's wake up, no say, one ska. Hi, 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 hi. Thank you.
All right, you guys, that's it. And thank you again, AJ Felix.